you talking right now?
I was waiting for you.
Oh, okay. No, no, no. You had the floor.
Mm. Well, I finished reading the article,
Okay.
and it is deep. And again, that was the first time I read it.
Yeah.
So it kind of does touch on some of the things that we touched on yesterday, but it actually takes it a step further because it posits, well, one of the interesting thing is, there's a bit of a social commentary in there, and that it definitely, you know, it considers the billions of people who lived under certain social conditions under no illusion.
Yes.
They get it. Like
Well, I told you about that
this
dream that I
idea and
had.
concept.
I told you about that dream that I had and how vivid it was, and this just reminds me of that. It's almost like, how
Mhm.
this person is saying, like, when we say something's imaginable, that says more about our lack of imagination than it says about reality
Unimaginable, right?
itself, right? And it's like I had this vivid dream that seemed out there, but it also seemed very real, and like I related to it, like it just felt like very real to me.
Yeah, the truth is stranger than fiction, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
You know, it you were saying something. You're about to say something.
No, well, I was just about to step back to the cards that we had set up yesterday, the cards of
Okay.
AOC. So
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and run those down again.
before we had you know, erased history, erased what we laid down yesterday. We had been talking about. I had been talking about AOC and um, how the expectations are different for folks on the so-called
Well,
right and folks on the so-called left. And I was starting off by saying that
right.
I've had this feeling that AOC could be a contender for president, and
Be
people's
a true on the left,
a true what?
a true president, leftist president.
Right, a leftist, right. So and of course the first argument, right, we talked about things that, well, first of all, we talked about things that they could have against her, right? And the first obvious one is she's way too young.
Let- let- well, before you stack the cards, let's set it up. Let's set it up a little bit in a little bit more detail.
Okay.
Oh, given what you said, that was the premise, and that's how the conversation came up. And we had both concluded that it would be very difficult find or to elect a straight leftist president. So then you brought up AOC, and we talked about AOC, and you said the things that you said, and I said let's stack the deck against her.
Okay.
Let's literally stack the deck against AOC, and then let's knock the cards down, which
Right.
is what we did. We stacked the deck against her, but you
Hmm.
came up with some very 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 informative cards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we stood them up, and then that's where we left off. So that's where we're at. We actually have stacked the deck against AOC,
Right. But those
which Flav is about to.
that has that that has disappeared. So we're just going to restock them, right? Because my commentary has
Yeah, yeah.
disappeared.
That's what we're gonna do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna reset. But I'm just kind of, in case for people who may be watching this or who watch it, they kind of really they just get a full scope of what it was we were doing.
Sure.
We've stacked the deck against AOC with the intention of knocking the cards or the dominoes down.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead.
So okay. So the first obvious thing to say about AOC is she's way too young. She's going to be just turning 35 in 2024. So she's going to be the bare minimum
Hmm.
that you can be to be president. So that's the first card. Now, along with that card, or the other side of that same card, or what goes hand in hand with that card, is a lack of experience, right? Um, You can say whatever she's doing now just simply isn't enough. It doesn't give you the type of, uh, whatever they start saying, executive experience or blah, blah, blah. It doesn't give you the type of experience you need in order to lead the country. So you got she's too young, she's inexperienced. And then the next one I spoke of was the fact that she is a card carrying socialist. And I believe,
Mm-hmm.
unlike Bernie, she doesn't put the word democratic in front of it. She just says, I'm a straight up socialist.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's card number 3.
I'm gonna add some cards.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be as see or sensitive.
Okay.
I'm gonna add some cards that are certainly in the deck. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna just pull them.
Okay.
She's a woman.
That's another
She's a
obvious one.
minority.
Yes, that's another obvious one.
She's a woman, and she's a minority. And I add those cards because those are cards, horrible as it is to say. It has to be said. Those are cards that are going to work against her from her own party.
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about politics, you can't pull any punches, right? You can't pretend like those don't
Yep.
exist. Um, I just thought of a funny. Well,
I'll
I
stack
should.
another. I'll
I just want to segue for a
add one more
second.
card, but go ahead.
Okay, I just want to segue for
Mhm.
a second. Like you, you could be accused of saying a Latinx woman couldn't win the presidency, right? That's what happened to Bernie, right? I think Bernie was speaking frankly about the difficulties that Elizabeth Warren would face. He was having, I think,
Mhm.
what you would call I don't know, a frank, or there's another word for it, but like a frank discussion on the realities of trying to win.
Mhm.
And then it was flipped on him.
Mhm.
Like all of a sudden,
Yep.
he's like a sexist who is saying you can't win, you're a woman. And it's like, whoa, 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 that's not what he said. He was just like showing you the cards.
Ticked on him.
What's that?
Politicked on him. Politicked on him.
Yeah, 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 yeah. They flipped it on him.
I'll add one. I'm going to add another card.
Okay.
Well, a narrative that she's stupid.
Oh, well, that's the last card that I
And
had
that
spoke of
narrative isn't going
yesterday.
to go away.
Yeah. Well, actually, I didn't see it that way, so I'll let you have that card. The way that I said it was, there is this assumption or narrative that she doesn't know what she's talking about, right?
She's talking about. Right.
Yeah, and
I
that
kind of more provocative, so
yeah, yeah, you're
I'm going to
being
say it the way that they say it.
sure, you're being more straight up, you're being
Say she's
provocative.
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
They use you've seen it. They use terms like she's the dumbest person I've ever heard. Like they use hyperbole,
I don't
right?
even
Ever heard anybody sound?
I don't even know if I saw the. I mean, I must have known they existed, but I must have seen more nuanced ones like, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She puts her foot in her mouth. She speaks before
Nah, bro.
she.
You actually contributed in a thread where a friend of mine came on and said exactly that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Man, who
Okay.
you yeah, he
Got it.
literally said she's the dumbest person I've ever heard. Another one of my friends replied. She said, "If she's the dumbest person you ever heard, you're either using hyperbole, just haven't heard many people speak."
Right. Okay. You know what? Maybe I
You see
wasn't
what I'm saying?
maybe I wasn't including Facebook people. Maybe I was thinking Twitter or like, you know, whatever, the blogosphere, whatever they call it. Um, yeah, I mean, people. I mean, Facebook hyperbole on Facebook is like out there, but she doesn't know what she's talking about. She speaks before she gets ahead of herself. She doesn't research her facts, like blah blah blah. She puts her foot in her mouth, blah blah blah. Like those are things people say. Um, anything else? Any other cards?
Um, well, I mean, you're certainly going to be more informed in this particular discussion than I am. So,
Well,
if in the discussion.
Yeah.
I have something comes to mind. I'll certainly
Okay.
throw it out there, but I defer
Okay.
to you.
So the other thing that they say, and this is, I mean, it's her hometown, so I guess it matters to some degree. I don't know how much it matters to someone voting in the Midwest, but they try to say she doesn't really come from the Bronx, that she went to school, like she grew up in some like suburb or blah blah blah. So they're trying to discredit her story, her origin story, where she comes from. So they're trying to say
Right, right.
she's not real, like she's trying to pretend like she's someone who's down from the Bronx, but she's really, some suburban woman or something.
Which that's important. That's important. That's an important card, even though
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem. It kind of seems like minuscule. It's actually important because if you look at
Authenticity.
let's look at George. Let's look at George W. Bush.
Okay.
Hold on, my screen blanked out.
Also,
His. Go on.
I was just gonna let you know your speech is a little spotty tonight. Um, like more like what was happening
Is
last
it?
night. It was happening every once in a while, but it seems like I always don't know if you stopped speaking or if you're cutting out. It seems like you're cutting out more.
Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, so what I was saying was, whether they're questioning her credibility based upon where she's from
Mm-hmm.
actually matters, even though it kind of, on the surface level, it seems minuscule. If you look at, say, George W. Bush,
Mm-hmm.
his military record, how he served and whether he really served or not mattered, right?
Yeah.
Barack Obama was trivialized based upon, you had an entire movement called the birther movement
Mm-hmm.
where they wanted his birth certificate. And, it came down to little trivial things like you criticized militancy of his Christian pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that didn't work, you claimed he was a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Like these little minuscule things matter. It kind of puts in perspective because, I remember reading about John F. Kennedy for president. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the one of the biggest, most to me was minuscule. But it came one of the biggest concerns for people was his religion. Was he Catholic or was he Protestant or Baptist? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that was a
Right.
big deal,
Right.
which to me is just like minuscule. You know what I mean? So yeah, I imagine, when you say like, is she really from the Bronx? That shouldn't matter, but people will make it a political point.
Well, it does. It does matter because
They'll make it a position.
Well, it does matter because if you can catch someone in a lie, then you discredit them,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's a woman. I think you discredit them even more. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's more of this whole
Mm-hmm.
she lied, kind of thing. Um, yeah.
And then they'll add a narrative. They'll add a narrative to it.
Hmm.
They'll add a narrative to it if they catch her. If they catch her out there, they'll definitely add a you claim to be from this place where these people are struggling and you know
Exactly.
what I mean
No,
to
no, no.
to
That's exactly
to,
it.
to
Well,
so-called recruit
that's
them and
exactly it. That's exactly it. Because first of all, we know the Bronx, out of all the
yep.
boroughs, it's that one that has that attachment to it, right? It's like the last one to be
Mm-hmm.
gentrified. It's like it's the one that we always think of when we think of the worst, things happening or people struggling. It's the one that's like left behind. So yeah, it's like
Mm-hmm.
definitely it's that whole like, they do it to everyone. They do it to Bernie. Like, oh, Bernie has mad houses and he's a millionaire and blah blah blah. Right? They always try to give you more money than you have to try to make you look out of touch. Whereas they go for
Mm-hmm.
billionaires though, right? So like the billionaires aren't out of touch, but the guy that
I, we
the guy that's
we haven't had
fighting,
a poor president.
right, right.
I mean, have we had a poor president?
I mean, the poorest one we've had. Um, yeah, who knows? I mean, I'm sure we've had ones at different scales, but yeah, I don't know if we've had a poor president. I don't know if we've had a poor president.
Well, and we haven't had a poor president by poor man's standards,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right?
Right. True.
I mean,
True that.
so okay. So go ahead and knock these down.
Okay, so let's knock the cards down. So card number one, she's too young. She's going to be 35 when she gets in there. Well, this is what I say. I say use it to your advantage, right? We got all these old white men. Look how old everyone was. People were making fun of Bernie for being, what, was Bernie 70 or 68 or 67 or something? And the guy making fun of him is
I mean,
literally
Trump's in his 70s.
Trump's in his 70s. Right. So that's the thing. So people are making fun of Bernie for being 70 something, and everyone else is 1 year either above him or below him, right? So whatever the age is it really that old? Is it? Are they really that old? Let me see. But
Yeah,
whatever it is, it's old.
Trump's in his 70s.
Okay.
They're all old. They're
Oh
all,
wow.
in my
Okay.
opinion, too
Bernie's
old. I think there should
78.
be an age.
Wow. Bernie's 78. Jeez. And I'm not even like that. I'm not even like, okay, I'm bugging out. I guess I forgot. And then Biden is 77. So you see people play before people started talking about Biden's mental acuity, people didn't really think he was that old. Okay, and then Trump is 73, Bloomberg is 78, Warren's 70. I mean, she's like the youngest of the bunch there. So, okay, but
I,
anyways,
I'm for I'm for an age cap anyway. I
okay,
think that that's too old.
okay, we'd have to talk
I
about
think that there
we'd
should
have to
be.
we'd have to talk about that. Because I don't know. Every once in a while, I meet a pretty spunky old person who's like really all there, and they're kind of with it. But even then,
I,
like they come from a different
are
era
they
than
are
I.
they
No,
and
you're.
are they exceptions or rules?
I
Because
I
you said
can't
it.
really.
They,
Yeah, you're kind of bugging out. You're kind of bugging out there.
oh, now
I mean, I heard. Then I heard now. I heard now.
and hear how about now?
Now I hear. Now I hear the full sentence. Yeah.
Okay, so like you said it right. They come from a different era. So when you talk about a pretty spunky old person, I'm not going to take that from you. But are we talking about exceptions or rules?
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. But
What
if
I'm
you,
saying is,
that's a good point.
now hold on. Let me just play this out.
Okay.
So I may be in a minority. I say this, and that's cool. I'm thinking there is an age, like there's a minimal age, right? You have to be 35.
Hmm.
But why shouldn't there be a maximum age? And I don't want to be ageist. I'm not discriminating against older people any more than I think the age of 35 discriminates against younger people because we're talking about experience, right? Which is why, they assume at the age of 35,
Hmm.
certain level of experience.
Hmm.
So that it just my opinion, it's fair to say that once you hit 65, like you have this 30-year period.
Hmm.
Once you hit 65, you're ineligible to be president. And it's specifically because has nothing to do with you as a human. It has to do with just like at 35, it doesn't really have anything to do with you as a human. It just has to do with, that age speaks to a certain level of experience. Well, let's say 65, we can assume that 30-year window still puts you in touch, right? Out of touch a little bit, still puts you in touch with eras prior to you, right?
Right.
And medically, right? At
Hmm.
65, you start to enter this zone where, you know, not to be shady, but where dementia can set in. Like, Ronald Reagan suffered from dementia. He may have, I doubt it, but he may have had early onset dementia during his presidency.
Well, let
Now,
me say that.
I'm throwing this out there. I have no proof of that. There's no source that says that. I'm just saying that, by the way.
Well,
So
let
for
me
the record.
say. Let me
But anyway, go on.
say. I would counter all that by saying, why make a rule? Why not just either let the people decide or do it on a case by case basis? Like if you're like like maybe we want an exception to the rule to come through. Maybe we have a great, grandmother character who's been through it all, who people love and rallies the whole country together. And maybe we want that exception. We want someone who's an exception and exceptional to run the country. And if people
Hmm.
like her, maybe they shouldn't be able to say no to her. Maybe that should be their choice. Um,
I hear
and
you.
and you would think that people, common sense, would get the better of people, and they'd be like, "I love you, Grandma, but you're just too old. You're too frail. You could go at any time, and we're really voting for your VP or blah blah blah." So that's a
I
counter
hear you.
thought. That's a counter thought.
I think that's good. The
Yeah,
counter thought. I again with that, it's just my opinion. I think that these people, exceptions or not, exceptional or not, I think that they're just too old.
right.
That's just my personal opinion. So it's not something that I think is like this should be the case. Like it's just my opinion. You know what I mean? I feel like, especially when we look at the playing field on the liberal side this upcoming election, with the exception of, there were a few exceptions, but look what it came down to, right? Ultimately the front runners were Warren, Biden, and Sanders, right?
Right.
So we're talking 70-year-olds.
So on the on
Like that's
the
what we're talking. And
on
again,
the
I don't have anything against a 70-year-old person,
well, on the other end, though, the reason why
but
it came down to some of them was low key. They were some of the better candidates. Like some of those young
yeah,
folks,
no, for sure.
they were not really that good. So it's like, imagine if we had already discriminated against those older folks, and now we have even more younger folks who are just getting in there.
Ooh, see that?
You know,
Ooh, that's a slippery slope though, because my opinion, I hope I'm not translating it as discrimination, because I'm certainly not discriminating any more than I think that we are discriminating when we don't allow someone who's 25 to run for president.
I mean, discrimination is just a word. It's not. I don't mean to use such a
Just gonna
weighted.
say, I guess it is discrimination.
No, I mean by definition it
Get what you're saying.
is. By definition it
Yeah, I know,
is,
and I get
and
what you're
and
saying.
and at some point, some
You're right.
people some people are going to look at the lower age and be like, "Is it time to make a change there too?" Right now, they might be wrong, or we might collectively
Oh, because
decide they're wrong. But anyone can look and say, "Let's re-examine," right? Because how long has it been this way?
well, it is discrimination. It
Yeah.
is discrimination. So you're right. It's just not discrimination with all the negative baggage that comes along with it. It's
Yes.
discrimination
Exactly.
based upon just the definition of the word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it is. You're right. You're absolutely
Now
right.
some
I
people.
just wanted to clarify because I only wanted to clarify because people may perceive that when you attach discrimination to it,
Sure.
you perceived me being, you know what I mean? And we both know that that's not the case, but people may perceive it as such. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well.
So that's the only
Yeah.
reason why I wanted to clarify.
So
All right, go on. So
now on the other end, just one more segue. When this 35 minimum was created, 35 might have been, more considered what we considered middle age now, right? We consider middle age in your 50s, even though I don't know why we do, because most people don't live to 100. But anyways, we consider middle age in your 50s. So 35 back then was actually older than it is now. So if anything,
well, yeah, right. Because well, today we're supposedly living longer. The
right.
average life expectancy is 75 years, right?
Hmm.
If you just look at it based on that statistic, the average life expectancy was 75 years,
Hmm.
then I don't know if it's an illogical pathway to say that you're potentially electing someone that can die in office based on the average life expectancy.
Well, it's possible. I mean, these people are of privilege, so their chances of dying aren't as good as the average person. But yeah, no, you're definitely right that the older they are, the more
I
possible.
got
The older they are, the more
I'm only
possible.
laughing at that because you just reminded me of like Neil Gaiman's Death, The High Cost of Living.
Okay.
And one of her favorite quotes is, "You get what everyone gets. You get a lifetime."
Hmm.
That's a quote from the character Death. And
Okay.
what she means by that is that no matter how long you live, if it's 10 years or 10 seconds,
Hmm.
that is a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm only laughing because their chances of dying are not as good. There's another quote I'm reminded of: "Death has 1,000 doors,"
Right.
right? So, nobody really has a better chance any longer than anyone else. If you're going to die, you're just going to die.
I mean,
I
that's
mean, you can buy up every mechanism, or every device, or every you can take every precautionary measure, and you can still just drop dead of natural causes at 3.
yeah. I mean, that's just statistically untrue. That's statistically untrue. But let's get let's. I mean, we have a word. We have phrases for it. It's called morbidity rate.
Mm-hmm.
And the people with the lowest morbidity rates in this country are black women living in Washington D.C. in like Ward 4. Like, no, chances of death are
No,
not
I
are not
understand what
equal.
you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying by statistics, but
But that's what I
what
mean
you're
though.
saying
Like
is
that's
that, but what well, I know what you mean, but what you're saying is, and I guess this is a total segue. We don't have to get into it. I just wanted to say, and if you want to, we can. What you're kind of saying is that wealth, on some level, can by statistics, can just. And I don't disagree, but what I'm saying is
I lost your words there. I
death
mean
also.
I know what you were saying, but you cut out again. You cut out after you said wealth.
Okay, what I was saying is, at least my understanding is that you're saying that by statistics, wealth on some level can trump death, and I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Based upon that statistic, it
That's
appears.
that's a sloppy. I'm not gonna cop to that. I'm not gonna cop to that sentence. It's too sloppily
Okay, okay, okay,
recreated.
okay,
But I
okay.
think you know what I mean, and I think our viewers know what I mean. If you have money, you
Yeah,
have better health care.
yeah,
You're gonna live
yeah.
longer. You're gonna catch shit. I mean, come on,
Well,
fucking Magic Johnson,
yeah, and that
right?
again.
I mean,
Okay, and again, I'm agreeing with. I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
I do agree. By statistics, I certainly agree. What I'm speaking to, though, is just death. You know,
Well, we're talking about letting old people run for president, right? So, and I'm saying like
right, right. So,
most
but
of the people running are.
what I'm saying is, is if it's your time to go, it's just your time.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Really,
I
just your
mean
time to
that's.
go. It's just your time. Like you can't call up your doctor and say, give me 2 more years. Like, it's just your time.
Actually, you can do that, and people do it all the time. People do it all the fucking time.
I mean, historically, history has shown us that we just can't beat death.
Yeah, but this is a platitude. Like I know that you know this is a platitude. I'm talking about. I'm being like I'm
Yeah.
trying to be like realistic here. Like yeah, yeah, nothing
Me
trumps
too.
death. Like fine. Yeah, but you're not like you're saying like I'm saying something realistic, and you're hitting me with
I
this
know what you're saying,
broad.
and I don't.
You're
Again,
hitting me.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But this applies because realistically, if I elect a president who's 70 and he's going to die the day after the day after he gets elected president, which I can't know. I can't know. We know very little about that. But if he's gonna die the next day, he's gonna die the next day.
Mm,
Like, if it's his time,
oh man,
if it's his time, it's his time.
this is what we
In
call.
a
This is
speech
like
and just
that.
drop dead.
This is like that fatalistic. This is like a. I think I don't know. I think our people do this because we've been through so much trauma, and this is like this fatalistic thing. Like everyone has like that boy of theirs that eats nothing but cartilage, uh, ham hock, greasy sandwiches all day, licking his fingers, and he's like, "If it's
Mhm.
my time to go, it's my time to go." And like, come on, man, that's not the way it
Mhm.
works. That's not the way it works. We can put ourselves in positions to drastically increase our chances of living. So this whole like, oh, he's gonna. I mean, in that case, if everyone can go at any time, then what's the age thing anyway? Then then let the 200-year-olds
Mike,
run for office because we're all
Mike,
equally capable of death, right?
Mike, but we all are equally capable of death. Now, by morbidity rates, you're those statistics are measured by conventions that we accept and understand, right?
By
You
what?
know, you get a conventions that we accept and understand, right? Like for instance, you get a disease, and you're more equipped to treat this disease than say the next person. You're or you're in better shape. So the disease doesn't wear on you. You eat healthy. You like these are all conventions that agree can prolong or give you more life in given situations. But the reality is, we are all equally. We came into the world equal. We were born dying, right? In a platitude, we are equally susceptible to death
But we're not.
by the
We're not.
conventions that
We're not equally susceptible to death.
we,
That's what morbidity rates means. The people who are
Mike, we
most
are.
susceptible to
We,
death are black women living in impoverished neighborhoods in DC, much worse than many third world
by,
countries.
yeah, but you're talking about by conventions that we accept and understand. If all things were equal, we are still equal to we are still equally subjective to death.
We're not.
I don't disagree.
If all
I keep
things are
conceding
equal.
that
Wait, if all things are equal.
all things being all things being equal. How about that? All things
No,
being
no,
equal, and what I mean is,
I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna play to that. All things equal, no one lives in
what do
that
you?
world because that world doesn't exist.
Okay, okay. You know, all things equal, all things being equal is a turn of phrase. It is.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean when I say that. Like it's a turn of
if I
phrase.
do, I
You know.
disagree. I disagree with its use, right? But anyway,
Okay.
we're playing semantics here, and you and I know that. I
Okay.
mean, you just agreed that you if you're in better shape and like you take care of yourself, you have a better chance of living. Like
Yeah, I
that's just
agree.
obvious.
By a better chance of living doesn't say that you're not equally subjective to death.
Well, I mean, we're just playing
Those
semant.
two those are
We're just playing semantics here. I'm
oh
not gonna
because
like.
well it's really not semantics though, Mike, because it's not the same thing.
Yeah,
Me
but
saying that on
ish in the
conventions that we recognize you have a better chance of living in a given situation does not say that you were not equally subjective to death.
okay, in the end, we're just gonna
Like
disagree. So let's just get off of this because I don't. Because we have some other good stuff to talk about, and this just feels like semantics to me. And in the end, we're just gonna agree,
okay.
and it's just gonna take a long time to get there, and it's gonna be like the way we were perceiving each other's words, right? Like that's all it's gonna be in the end,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
both too like smart not to understand. Like, I mean, because we've already agreed, and now we're like trying to like get the whole thing there. You know what I mean? We'll just keep it at like stay
I
healthy.
got you.
You got a better chance of living. It's like we're saying the same thing. Um.
Okay.
So okay, getting to the other cards. So the first card is youth. Now my thing is you can use the outsider approach, right? You're younger. You're not like these other old people that have been fucking shut up for years. The same old system. You got some young youthfulness. You've got like a different flavor, some passion, like some new energy. You got something different. Something that could take us to a better place. So like being 35 isn't bad. It's actually good. You want to spin the hell out of that, get out in front of it, don't be shy, and be like, yeah, I'm great. I'm here because I've inspired tons of people. Um, the whole she doesn't know what she's talking
Mm.
about thing. I mean,
That,
again, it's kind of
that was like card number 6, though, right?
well, yesterday it wasn't, but today it was. I think yesterday. Well, okay, yeah,
Okay, all right.
yesterday it was higher. Um, but what the second one was the yeah this yeah it was. I thought it was she's oh well she's too young, she's too inexperienced. That's kind of like the other side of the same card. That's like kind of like the same thing. I
Okay.
mean, you could
I
say
mean, attack in
Obama.
the order you want to.
Yeah, it's whatever order. I mean, she's had by 2024 she'll have had at least like 6 years by then, I think. And I think Obama only had like what about like 6 years in the Senate when he did his thing. Though you could say, she's not necessarily in the Senate, though. Who knows what she'll do in the next 4 years? Um, but as far as experience, I mean, you could say, look, the guy in the office now, in the Oval Office now, zero experience in that type of leadership and politics. And besides, you could say her being a lifelong organizer, that is like the type of experience she's bringing to the table, in which she's doing really well, um, in Washington.
Now,
So
what people are gonna question, what people are gonna challenge is her ability, her experience dealing with other politicians. Things like foreign policy will come up because
okay,
that's what they're gonna hit her with. They might not have hit Bernie with it, but they'll hit her with that. You know what I'm saying?
okay,
Every once in a while, this so-called foreign policy argument pops up. They hit Sarah Palin with it. You know what I mean? And it's like, wait a minute, you don't hit everybody with that. You're not even versed. You're like a layman, right? You're not even versed yourself on foreign policy. And it's interesting because she should be more versed on foreign policy than, say, Sarah Palin. Why would a governor be versed on foreign policy, right? Like
right,
that's something a senator would be more versed on than a governor, right?
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
under the whole experience banner, if I'm attacking her, I'm going to be like, well, what is your experience in the realm of politics dealing with other politicians? Not necessarily your track record as a politician, right? These
So
superficial things come into play.
so by
You know what I
20
mean?
by 2024, she'll have had like 6 years of experience, right? So she'll have had plenty
Mm-hmm.
of experience, unless she drops out, which she's
You'll
not going
have
to
had
do.
enough time.
She'll have had plenty of time dealing with.
I don't, the foreign policy question is something that I think is a very simple answer, which I don't know why more people don't say.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not versed on foreign policy. Oh, I'm going to get versed. I'll definitely have people around me that are. You understand what I'm saying? Like I can't know everything about everything, and that is okay.
Yes. So that's part of it, but the other part is like she's very knowledgeable and she's very smart, and her very leftist leanings, like those folks like have very strong feelings on foreign policy, and she has, I'm sure, made some of those clear already. So I think she's going to give a smart answer to the question that's given her, but then she can also layer on top of it what you said. But
Right,
you
right.
ask her about certain things, and she's gonna tell you things that some people will like, yeah, we shouldn't be, going in all these, countries in their business, overthrowing their dictators and blah blah blah. We should be like taking
The
care
popular
of.
narrative.
Yeah, exactly. We should be taking care of ourselves at home, not being hypocrites and like trying to fix other people's stuff when we got stuff to worry about here. That could play well even in some of the redder areas, like let's fix home first. So that could work well. Um, and to be honest, like some of those other folks you mentioned, I don't even think that their foreign policy was so well polished. A lot of the people we
I
had,
mean, it's not.
a lot of the Democrats this year didn't really have polished foreign policy, and we've been focusing on America so much that you know that's how it is.
But it's kind of like unless you're working or operating in a certain capacity within government, why would you, right?
Right. But and that's the thing too is
Why would you?
she I think she's got like I think I'm pretty sure she went to school for she did some heavy political science, I think, which is why she's good at what she does. So I think she'll be fine in that department. So those are a few cards. And again, like these cards is just like what kind of like guts do you have? Like, are you one of these like pencil neck Democrats that like is always in defense mode and not colorful enough to assert yourself? Or are you going to do what the Republicans do and just like turn up the charm and like let people feel you without like making excuses? Right. Um, so I think it's fine as long as they don't let people get under their skin. Now, I think the next one has been a big one. If you get over this one, I think it might be the true test, the communist thing, right? But it's she's a socialist, but a lot of people in this country don't understand the
It'll be
differences.
communist.
Yeah, exactly,
Be
exactly. Now, I think where you knock this card down
And
is
not
like
only that, even those who do understand,
they
don't like
still
socialism.
well those who do understand the difference. Well, it depends on who you're talking about. Depends on who you're talking about.
Yeah,
So that's what I was going to say is like there's a growing number of
conservatives
people.
do.
Well, yeah, conservatives. Yeah, they conservatives don't like don't like that unless it suits them, right? Like they'll use public libraries all day, but
Right,
they don't like
right.
socialism. They'll use they'll pay 42 cents for a stamp to ship something all the way across the country, but they don't like socialism. Um, their grandpa's on Medicare or Medicaid, but they don't like socialism. Um, so this one is like to me is like we've gotten to a point where some people aren't falling for the bullshit anymore. Many of them are young. We've got all these groups like DSA, like Democratic Socialists of America, who helped put AOC in office in the first place. We got people like AOC who are badass enough not to care when people try to like use those dirty words. And frankly, some people are getting sick of socialism, of capitalism, and they're victims of this unsustainable society where they're being taken advantage of left and right. So, you know, someone's like, don't worry about the word that they're using. This is what we're going to do. You know, we're going to like stop giving all of our money away to corporations, spend some of that money in our own neighborhoods to build ourselves up. Like, make sure you have health care, make sure your housing is is affordable. Like, build up our transportation and infrastructure and all this stuff people want. So at the end of the day, I think some of this crazy stuff that we're in, like with all this COVID stuff, people are like softening up and, people are like maybe ready for some real shit, like rhetoric be damned. So that one is just like, yeah, I don't know. It's a combination of being bold and like just like being real with people.
So you think that what you're saying is, and maybe that's not what you're saying. Maybe it's just my interpretation. Are you saying she should just? Sorry, my screen timed out. Are you saying she should just look in the face, say I'm socialist, own it, and go with it?
Yeah, I caught some of that.
I said, so are you saying that she should just look anti-socialist in the face and run with it?
Yeah, and I mean, I think the good thing about AOC is she's smart enough and relatable enough where she's able to have teachable moments, so she can like flip it on you and
Mhm.
teach people at the same time. You know, she could be like really, like is a library like is that like some evil socialism? Everyone takes advantage of that. All I'm saying is like social
All
safety
right,
nets. Like we should be able to take care of our
I'm
people, especially if we could take care of corporations.
call,
What's
and
that?
I'm gonna say that we take this particular card. I said I'm gonna make a call.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that we take this particular card. This with this particular card, that
Hmm.
socialist card,
Yeah.
we're not gonna knock it down. We're gonna put it aside.
Okay.
Come back to that one. And the reason why I'm saying that is because as you're explaining it to me and we're talking about it, starting to realize that that is going to be a big card. And I have to, you know what I mean? That's going to be a really big card put in front of her. Not just going to be an easy one for her to just kick down. Like that's going to be a big card. It's going to always come back to, I look at like Obama's administration and I look at, even George W. Bush's administration and, Democrats never let George W. They never stopped screaming fascist. Conservatives never stopped screaming socialist, even though Barack was clearly a centrist. Bro, you understand what I'm saying? Like they never stopped screaming socialist, 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 socialist,
Right, but he
socialist.
but he
And
won he won regardless though, right? So he essentially knocked down that card,
yeah,
right?
but well, the difference being though, he didn't declare himself a socialist, right? They
Okay.
didn't start
Okay.
calling him a socialist until he started policies, and that's
Okay.
when they started popularizing this socialist term in American politics. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
While she's outright saying she's a socialist.
Right.
So I think for her, the fence is higher.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
So
I got you.
I something that I want to come back on because I want to be more. I want you to like. I want to go deeper into the discussion, and I want you to give me more information and continue because right now you're informing me. When we're
Okay.
knocking these cards down, I'm being informed and I'm learning. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And in the process, I'm realizing as you're talking because I don't think it's like I think all of your points are good. I just don't think it's gonna be so easy
Sure.
given
Sure.
everything that you said. I'm
Okay.
like, so with that, I definitely I don't want to just knock that one down. I just want
Yeah.
to kind of put it aside and come back to that one because I think it's a bigger card than
Okay.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I want
So yeah, no,
to
go ahead.
say I want to say with the her being a woman
Hmm.
and her being a minority, right?
Yes. Yes.
How does she? And I guess we're gonna. I'll propose we hit that card.
Okay.
Curious to know how she overcomes white.
Okay.
And let me put that in some. Let me put that in more context. So, a lot of white male Democrats are talk heavy and action weak.
Okay.
They'll get in social media. They'll get in social media. I don't mean. Let me change that. Not a lot. There are white male Democrats, white male
Okay.
liberals
Okay.
are very talk heavy.
Okay.
They'll say all the right things as it regards women, regards minority, as it regards all of these what I like to call pocket group issues that we have,
Yeah.
identity politics that we have.
Hmm.
They'll say all the right things, but then their actions are not going to meet their words.
Okay.
I said to someone, I firmly believed that there was a contingency, pros, Democrats, what have you, that just weren't brave enough, Mayor Pete or a Senator Warren.
Wait, sorry, that just
Simply
weren't
that.
brave. Wait, just weren't brave enough to what?
For a Mayor Pete or a Senator Warren.
To vote for to what campaign with?
To vote for Mayor
Oh,
Pete
vote
or
for it. Vote
Elizabeth
for it.
Warren.
Okay. Yeah, I'm losing your first words. I don't know. Whatever
I'm sorry.
you kept adjusting yesterday and it was getting good. I don't know. Whatever you were doing yesterday, you adjusted and it got good. I don't know if it's just your
How about
mouthpiece
now?
or what. I can't tell you that until you
How
speak a
about
bunch.
how about
No, not now.
Okay, so how about now?
Lost. You got to keep
All right, let
talking.
me mess with.
We got to keep talking for me to see it.
Yeah, I'm
Cause
gonna keep talking.
yeah.
Yep, I'm gonna keep talking. I got you. I'm gonna keep talking. So what I'm saying is, I noticed that there were a contingency of white male liberals enough. I didn't think that they were going to be brave enough to vote for Mayor Pete or Elizabeth Warren.
They didn't want to vote for a white
She
person.
didn't get any of that, huh?
No, no, no. I
For a
don't know.
woman,
No,
person,
it's really bad, man. It's getting rough. I don't know. You got to adjust something.
right?
I don't want to like lose all this
All right.
gold.
This is the worst ever. I got this elaborate setup, and I'm having microphone problems.
It sounds
I need to keep talking.
sounds better now. I mean, I hear a fan thing in the background, but it sounds
Okay.
better.
Oh, you hear my ventilation system right now?
Okay.
The heat is on,
Okay.
so that's probably here in the background. Saying was, I noticed that there are a contingency of liberals, white male liberals / Democrats that just weren't brave enough, at least in my opinion, weren't going to be brave enough to vote for Mayor Pete or Senator Warren.
Because they're white?
Warren being a woman. No, Warren because she's a woman, and Mayor Pete because he's a member of the LGBTQ community.
Oh, brave enough, huh? Well, okay, so here's my take on that.
That's why I use the word talk happy and action weak.
Okay, so here's my take on that. There are those people, that's fine. A strong candidate will cut through some people's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Will cut through. Like, I mean, Obama was super charismatic. He got a lot of people excited. For all those white people who didn't vote for him, a shit ton of them did, and they loved the shit out of him. He had to be great, but he was able to do it. Now there are, and I've spoken to some of these people. I spoke to some of these people today. I was on the phone for like 5 hours calling people. I've been on the phone for like 6.5 hours a day, like calling people, seeing what's up with the vote. And I've had some women tell me that they're voting for a specific person because she's a black woman. And that's all they said. And they just left it at that. Then I went into, some good points about the other person that we're supporting, but they left it at that. So there are going to be lots of people who will be excited to vote for AOC because she's a woman. There are going to be lots of people. There's lots of Latinx people in this country who are going to be excited to vote for her also because she's Latinx. So she's both. So, like, don't underestimate, forget about the number of uncomfortable white people, they're going to be there. They've been around for a long time. They're going to be there. Sometimes they vote, sometimes they don't, like, whatever. Their numbers fluctuate. But there are lots and lots of people who are going to be turned on by an AOC. They're going to be excited that for the first time they feel represented, especially like all these people in the Bronx where she comes from, and she's going to be representing the Bronx and like New York and all of that. They're going to be really excited. And wait,
I can hear it now. It was all a dream. Like I can hear it.
Well, and she was a waitress, right? And she had the nerve to go back to like a night of being a waitress again after she was already in DC doing her thing. I forgot what it was for, some kind of promotional thing, but like,
Can you see? Can you see Cardi B at her inauguration ceremony?
oh, come on, Bronx on Bronx. Definitely. Fat Joe,
Yeah, like
Cardi B, like,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm so serious. Yeah, yeah, I'm serious.
yeah.
Like
Um,
America will be turned up, right? America will
yeah,
be turned up.
yeah. And so that's the other thing. She knows how to use Twitter. She knows how to snap back at people when they try to play her. And she knows how to do it in a very succinct, easy to digest way. Not like these old, boring white people who like you get bored hearing them talk. A lot of these Democrats don't know how to use sound bites. They don't know how to speak in marketable terms. They don't know how to market themselves or what they say. And so they get played by the media instead of being players, right? So she knows how to take advantage of that. So yeah, that's stuff she could definitely use. Um, so yeah, that's I don't see that as being a problem. I see that as being a very strong, a strong thing she could use to her advantage. And don't forget,
So you think?
women out,
Uh,
women out. There's more women than men, and there's lots of Latinx people in this country. Like they're the fastest growing uh, minority by far, and
demographic.
they're gonna outgrow white people like soon, if not already. And by 2024, that's four
So
more years from now.
so you think that we in the 21st century America we've gotten over,
Nope,
you know,
didn't say
things
that.
like things
Didn't
like
say that. Did not say that. Did not say that. Did not say that.
it's with a question mark. My statement is not me putting words in your mouth. It is my statement is with a question mark, as in I'm asking a question.
No,
So you think that in 21st century America we've gotten over, color boundaries and gender boundaries?
no, absolutely not. What I'm saying is
Okay.
she's going to be able to use that to her advantage regardless. It's not about getting over. It's like jujitsu, right? Your opponent, like, we never get over
Mm-hmm.
physics, right? We never get over physics. Physics is physics.
Mm-hmm.
Your opponent weighs twice as much as you, but my name is Hoist Gracie. I'm going to use your weight to
You
my
looking at my?
advantage. Oh,
Are you
no,
looking
I
at?
didn't.
Are you looking at my jujitsu?
No,
Oh,
no, no, not at all.
I
I,
thought that's what you were. I thought that's what you were referencing. My gi that's hanging right there.
no, no. I can't even. It just looks like black back there. I
Okay.
couldn't even see what that is. So I'm going to use your weight to my advantage, and I'm going to slam you twice as hard. So it's not saying that. Do you think, in the 21st century, uh, we've gotten over weight classes, or we've gotten over, you know, gravity or strength? It's just being able to master it and use it to your advantage.
So okay, and again, I just wanted to clarify that I was asking a question. I wasn't implying that that's what you were saying at
Yeah, no
all.
doubt.
I'm just asking a question.
No doubt.
I'm gonna throw hurdles in these. If you're running a race to knock the cards down, I'm definitely gonna put hurdles in that 100 meters. You
Okay.
know what I mean? So again,
Yeah.
I'm definitely not. I'm not at, again, I'm not saying that's what you're saying or even asserting or anything like that. I don't even get the inference. I'm just asking the question.
No, that's all good because people will wonder that. Listen,
Yeah.
I still hear people say. I heard people say, "Do you think, I don't know if the country is ready for a woman president." And I'm like, we just had a black president. What are you talking about? It's like, remember this imagination thing? People don't have a good
Listen,
imagination. People have shitty imaginations. Like, are you kidding me? We just had a black president. And now you're telling me you don't think we're ready for a white woman president? Are you kidding me?
it's interesting. And I know that see of black people, I'd certainly get looked at a certain way. But, my mom raised me and not by it wasn't an education that she opened up her mouth and gave me, but by example. You know what I mean? I had a single parent, so my mom dated black guys, she dated white guys, she dated people from India, right?
Okay.
You know, the music that I listened to in my house, ranged from James Brown and Smokey Robinson to Kenny Rogers and Boy George.
Okay.
My mother played.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she, so this was an education for me. So I never a point in time in my life I looked at, and this is weird, and probably how many people can say this or how many people will even believe me, but there's never been a point in my time in my life where I looked at color, gender as a boundary, as like a barrier, as it just occurred to me that why can't a woman be president? Why can't someone who's Hispanic be president? It just never occurred to me that, until obviously I got older and I realized the world that I live in. You understand what I'm saying? But in my head, I don't see certain things that's weaker than others, or, it was always just the norm for me.
I'm here. I just had to grab some things.
No, that's fine. I'm gonna go do my coffee real quick, okay?
Okay.
Point, she was compelled to ask, "What is our show?"
Okay.
And so I just told her it's called On Submission with Flavius, Maximus, and QX. And I told her about it. She's someone that, now that I think about it, she can come on and, in a conversation with us as well.
Cool. And we did miss some there at the 1 hour and 2 mark. I forgot to unpause, so we'll have some that will be absent, but better than we did yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, no, because yesterday we managed to turn a lemon into a lemon tree.
Right, that's true.
Because now we just, ended up with an idea.
Yeah.
That we can use yesterday's show for. So it wasn't a mishap,
Cool.
Figuring it out.
Yeah.
So socialism. Word of politics. It's interesting because, a lot of people can see this, and I think from two different perspectives. And maybe there are more perspectives that I'm not aware of, but I had a friend recently say that his discontent is that liberals are now looking like conservatives. Too often contend that we don't really have a true left in America anymore.
Oh yeah, I was saying that yesterday.
Interesting, because the definition of true left, and I don't know what that definition is. I don't know what definition would work for the purpose of this conversation. I'm operating under assumption, saying that the true left, question mark, by the way, is leaning more towards accepting socialism. Is it more of the conservative is putting this title on the left, kind of make it look ugly?
I mean, we've got more people who are not afraid of the word socialism and who realize what it is. At the end of the day, the whole shit is stupid. It's just like, rather than, it's just maligning people and like throwing mud on people and like the Red Scare and like all of that silly shit. It's like, you don't have enough faith in your position to argue something with intelligence. So you have to like rile people up and scare them in order to like, throw mud on someone else to make yourself look good. At the end of the day, I mean, we use socialism in a lot of different ways. We just don't call it that when we use it. Whether it's the library or, whether it's any of these programs that we use that people take advantage of all the time. Um, so it's just silly to like to even like waste energy defending it. But at the end of the day, as people are ravaged by the unfairness of capitalism, they're going to be, and especially younger people, they're going to be more open to like socialism. I mean, Britney Spears came out the other day talking shit about capitalism and like denouncing capitalism, and someone else did too. I forgot who it was, but someone you wouldn't expect. So people like are starting to understand.
Okay. Now, that's one perspective, and I'm kind of being enlightened by it, but that's one perspective because you do have a contingency of liberals, like you said, right? We don't really have a true left, so you got a lot of liberals that are right.
I missed what you said.
Oh, and have a lot of liberals that are progressive, right?
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if it's fair to say, not that I'm saying you're saying this, I don't know that if it's fair to say that all liberals accept the idea of socialism.
No, I mean
Even if it's a
no, I mean it's never, those sentences never bear out to be true. I mean, I'm just saying more young people are
right.
like more young people are accepting it and not afraid of the word, and like they understand what it is, and they're not going to like let some person turn that word into the boogeyman, which is essentially what's been done.
Okay. So and with that having been said, I still feel like that's still her. I mean, that to me, that's just going to be her biggest hurdle. I think she can overcome everything. That's always going, like, she's always going to be arguing that position.
See, I wouldn't do that though. I wouldn't let someone put me on the defensive. I would go
Mm.
offensive. Because the moment you let someone determine, the moment you let someone like frame the argument for you and tell you what you're going to be talking about all the time, you've lost. I wouldn't put myself in that position. I got a lot of
I
stuff to
mean,
go
she's
on
going to
the.
have to be on her.
I got a lot of stuff to go on the offensive about, as she does, which is one thing that makes her popular. She doesn't have to sit there the whole time and defend herself from these crazy people that like don't know what they're talking about.
Now,
Like either did Bernie.
your AOC, your AOC, right?
Mm-hmm.
AOC, we're role playing. Your AOC,
Okay.
go on the offensive.
I
What are
mean, we
your
have we
what are your
have
talking
these.
points?
We have man. We have lots of money we're wasting on corporations. I mean, not only is Jeff Bezos one of the richest people on the planet, Amazon is like the most. I mean, Amazon does like the most business of any corporation on the planet. And meanwhile, Bezos isn't paying taxes, and Amazon isn't paying taxes. And this is tons of money that we're losing from our tax base. I mean, if these corporations were paying like 0.1% of the taxes they should be paying, we could have fast um, transportation, like from here to LA. We could have like a fast bullet train, and we could be doing commerce back and forth from coast to coast. We could be putting money into education, and we could have a more equitable society. But instead, we're literally doing the insane thing, and we're engaging in corporate welfare. We're giving corporations money instead of letting small businesses get breaks, and instead of like building our neighborhoods and giving black folks the ability to um, invest and like take pride in their own neighborhoods and build their businesses back up. We're giving it away to like McDonald's and Burger King and Amazon. It doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any dollars either.
Go on.
No, I mean, this is like all day. I mean, this is just like, and then
Yeah,
there's the,
hit me, inform me, educate me. I'm scribing liberal or Democrat, and I'm determining whether I want to vote for you. And I'm just weary of socialist, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm skeptical, and I hear all these narratives, and it's kind of scary. Like, I don't really understand socialism, but I think it's bad. Is it bad? Like, I don't know. Just
okay.
John.
Okay.
You're.
I mean, where do you live?
So I live in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
I'm a homeowner.
Okay.
I would consider myself lower middle class.
Okay. Do you send your kids to public school or?
My daughter's an adult. She's in college.
She was in college. Okay. Was she a product of the public school system?
A Frederick Law Olmsted School. So
Okay. I don't know
like
what
you
that
have
is.
to test. It's definitely a school. It's definitely a school you have to test to get into.
Okay. But is it a
I,
public school?
my it is in as much as City Honors is a public school.
Yeah, I forgot what that means. So I don't really know what that
Okay,
means.
so it's like you can't you it is a public school.
Okay.
Anyone has the opportunity to go to the school.
Okay.
You have to test into the school.
Okay. Okay. So, but it's public dollars. It's public dollars that pay for the school, right? You don't have to
Yes.
put your own money in. You're not. This isn't a private school where you're paying for your daughter to go.
No tuition.
Okay.
Tuition.
So, I mean, it's a great school, right?
Yep.
Great school. Okay. I mean, that's all that socialism means, is that we invest in systems that are important enough that we want to make sure that they're there, right? We want to make sure that people have the ability to get an education, that people have the ability to go to school, that people have the ability to have a fireman or firewoman come to their home. Should there be a fire, and there's no like bill that you have to pay for, that if you're behind on your bill, your house is just going to burn to the ground. This is a social contract that we have, where we all put money into the pot and we take care of each other. Because if we don't, if John didn't pay his bill and the fireman says, well, I'm not coming to put that fire out, then, Jack and Jill next door, their house is going to burn down now too, right? Because the flames are going to leap over. So there are things like schools, like like mail and like firemen and policemen and all that stuff that our taxes are going to pay for it, and that's what's called a social program. So that's all that means, is it's socialized and not privatized. That's all that means. But the same people who, have their hands out so that their corporation can get money from social programs are going to try to tell you that socialism is bad. I mean, these people, they either don't know what they're talking about, or worse, insidiously, they're trying to take advantage of you, and they're trying to play you and manipulate you through language and fear. And that's all it's really about. So, I call myself a socialist because I believe that when it comes to food, clothing, shelter, education, healthcare, and the things that people actually need, we should have a cushion for people, and that people should be able to take advantage of these programs without having to worry about it. So that's all that means.
Does this mean that I have to pay more money?
No, it does not. Absolutely not.
What is this pot?
What is
the pot? Where does the money come from?
The money comes from the asshole corporations that are not paying a dime, that are making billions and billions of dollars hand over fist, and they're not paying a dime. Not only are they not paying a dime, but they're actually accepting our money. See, like originally.
So you're saying that we're saying that we're going to make these corporations that are profiting off of our communities pay for things in our communities because they have excess?
Yeah, we're going to make them pay their fair share. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And they make so much money that even if they pay less of a percentage than we do, they're still going to put a lot of money in the pot. So you can imagine if they paid the same percentage that we did, that would be a lot of money in the pot. See, what they're not telling you right now is something is very wrong in this country when some people, when a few handfuls of billionaires have more money than the rest of the country. I mean, something is very wrong with that. And, the imbalance is just ridiculous. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And what's
wrong with it, and what's wrong with it, and why is it wrong?
Why is an imbalance of money wrong? Well, I mean, it's wrong that some people have more money than they'll ever be able to spend, and are flying around on jets and buying exotic tigers and doing crazy shit while other people are like lying in the street. I mean, that's wrong. But then what's even worse is when you realize these people aren't paying their fair share like we are. Why should John Q. Public, who made $36,000 last year, be paying more money in taxes than Amazon is? That's just ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. It's just it's piss poor management. That's piss poor management. If your house was run that way, it would be ridiculous. It wouldn't make any sense. It would be like you and your wife are living it up like King Jafar, and then your daughters are like paupers. But it's much worse than that degree of of discrepancy.
So what are the negative, if any, aspects of socialism?
Negative aspects of socialism is, I mean, you're going to have people who are going to talk shit, and they're going to like hark back to, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what the negative aspects of socialism are. I mean, the only thing that I know is that people often conflate like dictatorships where socialism has existed as like being one and the same, right? Like, so, in other words, like socialism is like a form of like economics, and then like a dictatorship is like a form of a government. So like in countries where socialism has existed, but there was some type of dictator who ran the country, people conflate the two. And they say, "Oh, look, socialism failed there," and it was like, well, I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with socialism. It was the fact that some dictator ran the country into the ground. So yeah, I mean that's what it is. It's just really people being uneducated, and then you have other examples where
I just had a ghost rub up against my leg.
Oh shit! Maybe it was a cat, or hoping
I thought it was my cat. I thought it might have been my cat, but when I looked, like there was nowhere my cat isn't around anywhere. And I'm sure, as cats can be, they're pretty sneaky. So maybe my cat's tail rubbed against my leg.
You better hope that was a cat.
I mean, man, we're on video, so if it happens, we got some good footage, right? Like if it pops up on the screen and there's a ghost.
I mean, honestly, I'd rather it be a ghost than something else.
Hey.
What's that?
What does that mean?
I'm not even going to say the name because it gets real like that in the city. I'm not even going to invoke the name. I'm just going to say I'd rather it be a ghost.
You just scared me, bro.
Well, I mean, you don't have.
Y'all got stuff out there, man.
We got stuff out here.
Y'all got stuff out there.
We got stuff.
Like supernatural stuff?
No, not supernatural. No, there's nothing supernatural about it. I will say it's gotten worse since COVID. I read an article about it where my skin was crawling when I read it, and other people were saying the same thing. And then I encountered it the other night, and I was like, yeah, I was not happy. I was not happy.
What now? What are we talking about here? Like an entity?
Oh, it's an entity, all right, but it's not supernatural. We'll talk about it sometime. I don't want to get off on this.
Hold on.
Because I gotta go to sleep.
Because
I'm gonna be like trying to go to sleep thinking about this. And I'm not. That's not cool. I'm not gonna.
Scary.
Oh, it's definitely scary. Yeah, it's scary. I'm not gonna talk about it right now. We'll talk about it some other time.
I'm not gonna draw you into it. I just want to say that you're going to describe something to me that could be potentially a threat, and you're just gonna like not make me aware.
I mean, like I said, you probably don't have to worry about it all like that where you are, and this isn't something that you're unaware of. This isn't something you're unaware of.
We don't have COVID.
No. This isn't
because we don't have COVID.
This isn't something you're unaware of. You're aware of it. You just don't react to it the way I do.
You've sparked my curiosity. All right, I'm just gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna let it go.
Okay.
It's nothing that it's nothing that we normally or commonly would have to fear.
It depends on where you live.
To be dangerous based upon where you live,
But you
and it
could,
can just get into your house.
we've said too much. We said too much already. We said too much.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So I'll never go to sleep again.
Really? Okay, so when can we have this conversation? Because I have to know. Can we do it at like broad daylight at like noon?
Sure. Except it's going to have to be on the weekend because I'm going to be working at that time during the week.
Okay. So he said, I've said too much. This is like a movie now, man. Like I feel like we just went through a scene in a movie. What's going to happen next? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've said too much. And based upon that, like you definitely alarmed when you're like, I'd rather it be a ghost. Like, huh? I thought we were boys, man. Like, yo, what do you mean you would rather it be a ghost? There's something worse.
Oh yeah. To me.
Okay. All right. Well, it was my cat.
Oh, it was.
Is what I would rather it be. Yes. Which is what I would rather it be.
He was just sneaky.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a sneaky cat. You got me sitting down here like, man, do I gotta go grab my shotty? Listen, bro. You feel me?
Yeah.
Crazy. Got me thinking, huh? Need the shotty on standby.
All right, so did we get through?
All I'm saying.
Did we get through the? Did we get
We
through
did.
all the cards? Okay, we got through.
I'm still very much curious about the negative aspects of socialism.
Yeah. So like real talk. I think when people think of socialism, they think of like I don't know Venezuela and like some of these South American countries that we had some problems with, some idealistic problems with. And at the end of the day, it's like these countries were ruled by like individuals instead of democracies, and then people have a problem with that and they just misconstrue the socialism aspect with the way the country was run. It's just plain old fashioned ignorance to me. And then people often misconstrue again, socialism and communism. So they're thinking of Castro and they're thinking of all this other stuff, which again, I mean, even communism is like, when you look at the history of it, it's just like, we share so everyone, has like enough stuff. And I mean, a lot of the communist countries, including Russia and Venezuela and all those other places, were very sympathetic to the plight of Black people. They were always like, mentioning like, look at the way like you treat your own citizens, and like they were always like, very sympathetic to us in our cause. Which is one of the reasons why you saw like the Black Panthers were, they were pushing socialism, right? The Black Panthers.
Okay. I can't say with any certainty. Go on.
I could be wrong though. It could have been communism, so I might be guilty of conflating the two as well. But
I think they were accused of communism.
No, because
I
I
think
feel
they were
like
accused of
I
communism.
feel like I remember they had like like a Mao book or something. Communist, yeah.
I
Okay.
definitely think they were accused
Yeah, no, it's
of communism. Looking at right now. Go on.
no, I'm just no, I mean that was it. That was it basically. Yeah, Maoism, Marxism, Leninism. Oh, okay. Oh, revolutionary socialism.
So
Yeah, no, I guess I don't know, maybe both then. Maybe both.
okay. So is it a fair conclusion that the argument of like the 50s and 60s with Marxism and all of that is comparable to this argument against socialism today?
I mean, it was very strong back then. I mean, the Red Scare, you know, I mean, they were outing, uh, people from Hollywood and stuff like that. I mean, they were, they were going crazy. It was not a good, it was not a good time. I mean, they were really like, treating people not like citizens at all. They were just like, they were really bugged out. It was like a lot of fear mongering.
I'm now I'm not John, not role playing.
Okay.
I'm still very much interested in understanding socialism. I want to know.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not being very. I'm like,
it.
yeah. I mean, I'm only telling you a little bit of it.
One
It's
of
just
the
like
things that you said, credit, when I asked you some of the negative to socialism was that you don't know. That's to your credit. That's not that's like an awesome thing to say because so many people just won't. When they don't know something, they just won't say they don't know.
right.
You know what I mean? And I when I say that, I'm saying that with the highest degree of respect. Like that to me was like, okay, now I know that, you're not a liberal who's going to sell me a line of crap.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you think it's, you're passionate about something and you think it's the best way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just going to tell me the facts as you know them.
Yeah.
And what you don't know, you're going to tell me I don't know. That's commendable and really important to me. I mean, and it's always been important to me since my youth. When I was a kid, I'd go to church. One of the biggest problems that I had was, if I asked a minister or someone who was in leadership something specific about the Bible, he did not know the answer, they hit me with something like, great is the mystery of godliness and such is the power thereof, rather than just saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just tell me you don't know. I'm good with that. Like, everybody doesn't know everything. That's okay.
Right.
That's more honest than what I mean, giving me a non-answer as an answer.
Well, I mean, those people have been given those answers too. And like, I don't want to say brainwashed, but like, in a sense, part of that school of thought is there's going to be something that's almost like their way of saying, I don't know. It's a mystery. Only God knows. But they're saying it in a more, they're saying it in a way that's very cryptic,
Yeah. Really authoritative.
Yeah.
What I mean? Yeah. So I'm, I think that's something that I'm glad that you have that in your character. Not that I doubted that.
Right.
But I'm glad it was on display here.
Yeah.
More people have to get into the habit of, one of my teachers, Socrates, said, need to know. He felt that he was smarter than everyone else because at the very least, he knew enough to say he didn't know when he didn't know.
Right. I mean, plus, at the end of the day, you have a lot of people who have knowledge on this stuff. So I don't want to be like leading you astray and like making some shit up when you could be like, all right, he doesn't really know this. Let me find this information over here, So instead of me like saying some bullshit to you,
right,
you can like go somewhere else and like get the information and like we could come back and discuss it. Like, oh, okay, well, this is what they said. Maybe was a little sketchy about it, or they were unsure about this and that.
Yep, I'm with you on that because people can always get informed. My problem in the political realm, words I can read, however, not wired that way. Some people are just wired for different things, and I don't know if it's just years of practice or because it's a particular interest of theirs. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like education, right? Really, no aspect of scholastic education that's difficult, right? It definitely it's more contingent on the individual's desire or interest in a given subject, how well they're going to perform.
Most definitely.
You know what I mean? Like I've seen people that scholastically aren't considered bright, but yet you put them in an environment and you give them a subject that they take a real interest in, and they just excel.
Yeah.
And it's because they're interested. You understand what I'm saying? So to them, it's not like work, right? Well, for me, politics is like work. It's not interesting to me. And when I say that, again, it's interesting to me. I do want to be informed. I do want to know, and I do want to understand. The process is very boring. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because of it, I could read every word, and my brain may wander every other sentence, even though I'm reading the words.
Sure.
So for me, it's just an easier process for me to get information filtered through people that I respect, people who I think are interested in these subjects and have an intelligent perspective and an intelligent understanding of it. That's why I defer. I have a problem deferring. You know what I mean? I'll, ask somebody who can break down for me like I'm 6. You know what I mean? Hey, Mike, explain this to me, or what's your opinion on this, or what does this mean? You understand what I'm saying? For me, so I never understand half of the thing, like all these political arguments on liberal and this person supports this and this person's policy this. I'm always amazed when I see my friends have these conversations. It's like, man, I don't even have a political science degree. And I'm not saying this from a negative perspective, because I will and have said it. Like, you don't have a political science degree, but all of a sudden you know everything about politics. I've said it from that perspective. But the way I'm saying it now is I have friends that are so informed. At the very least, they inform themselves. They put themselves in a position to be informed, and their understanding is so deep that it's like, wow, I don't have a political science degree, and yet you understand this and can break this down. You understand what I'm saying? You can have conversations that all I can do is, make a comment here and there, but I'm definitely paying attention. You understand what I'm saying? I sit and I listen or I watch or I read conversations all the time on social media. I pay attention. When I see certain people start talking and start having certain conversations, I pay attention. I can break down history. I understand, history because for me, I'm a writer. So and I was very good in school, history, because I'm a writer. When I look at it as a story, you know what I mean? If you take American history, for instance, I just break it down in story format in my brain.
Yeah. Well, that's why
I'm going to get 100 out of that.
That's why I asked you when you were like, could you imagine living in what'd you say, 1918? And I was like, yeah, can't you? Because I feel like as someone with a good imagination and someone with gifted with the art of storytelling, you could kind of like imagine yourself in those dusty clothes they used to wear with those dirt, roads and like.
But see, there's a duplicity there for me, because I can imagine, but for the purposes of that specific conversation, and I wasn't being right. So for the purposes of that particular conversation, I couldn't imagine it because my brain was standing in the shoes of someone who assumes that I don't know what it actually felt like to live during that time period. You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't live in that time period. But the other side of me, the writer, could certainly imagine it.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But
Sure.
my brain was in those other shoes at the time, so there was definitely duplicity there. I wasn't being divisive at all.
Yeah.
Just my brain wasn't even looking at those shoes. They were like in another room in a different closet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the shoes that were in front of me were the shoes of 21st century-ish, who, 21st century-ish doesn't really understand. And I do, and I said as much. I do have an understanding based upon what history tells us, and I could write the story. Understand what I'm saying? I certainly could write the story. So, but yeah, there was a duplicity there in that sense.
Well, once you said most people didn't even have radios, that made me think like, damn, like what did people do on a regular basis? Because like, a lot of our entertainment centers around objects where we can either, come together or we can stare at or just like bug out and like, we can like listen and like imagine, or we can stare and imagine, either like listening to words that take us somewhere or watching pictures that take us somewhere. But imagine, before they even had radios, they had to like read to each other or like,
I was gonna say, I imagine those who had means a lot more. More people read the paper than they read now. Than they read the paper now. Yeah. Those who had means probably read books more. I think that families were certainly more interactive.
Yeah, but then they probably had a shit ton of work to do too. They probably came home and did a lot of work around the house and for all the conveniences they didn't have, maybe had to walk down the road to get some water or empty that outhouse or do all the chores and stuff too.
Well, if anything, right, I think it's a fair conclusion. It's fair to say that people are entertained by people.
Yeah.
Right? We read books about people. Mm-hmm. When the radio came out, we listened to the radio, which we're listening to people. Literally, when we watch TV, what we're watching is, outside of like bizarre out there fiction, watching recreations of people's lives in the forms of television shows or, far-fetched fiction, but nonetheless, it's an imaginary example of people's lives, right? Like people are entertained by people. Before then it was, you went to, maybe a symphony or the circus or a World's Fair, so to speak. You understand what I'm saying?
Or kids went out and played and went down to the creek and just, hung out and they were just outside or just doing things like playing, just, letting their imagination run wild. Right.
People being entertained by people.
Yeah.
That's, and it's interesting, this is a segue, but I wonder if, we were speaking about unimaginable based upon that article, right? I wonder if we weren't so limited by our own imaginations, if we left forms of entertainment on the table. So what could exist if we didn't make a TV, right?
Right.
Would we be putting machines on our head that allow us to know what it was like to fly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, what if we never made a TV, but we made a machine that I often think about things like this. Like, I have friends that live in Germany that I miss, that I haven't seen for years. I probably won't see them again. I mean, it's not unlikely, but I probably won't. Right. But I often wonder what it would be like if, like, I could put a machine on my head, right? Put a helmet on and just be at my man Junie's house, who lives in Germany. And he can see me and I can see him, but I'm still at my house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm still sitting in a chair at my house, but I could put the machine on, and you have a machine and a receiver or what have you. And, you know, I could just program, you know, all the coordinates. The next thing you know, I'm sitting at your house having a face-to-face conversation with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because the machine just recreates like an avatar of me. But, you know, I can smell the food.
Okay.
I can, you know what I mean? I can, you know what I mean? All of that, you know what I'm saying? And I could literally, you know, walk around your house because you have all these receptors in every room that allows my avatar to walk around your house. You know what I mean? And legit hang out with you.
Right.
You know, across the world. And I just wonder, you know, what did we leave on the table? Because and I get it, you know, we're subject to our senses, right? What we perceive through our senses. So our forms of entertainment are based upon people entertaining people, right? Like you've always had comedians, right? I mean, as far back as, say, court jesters. Right. You know what I mean? You've always had comedians. You've always had musicianship, right? Far back is, you know, just some guy playing some rudimentary instrument and people standing around him, or, you know, the trope that comes from fantasy of the bard. Right. Like, you've always had people entertaining people. I mean, I wonder though, and again, that comes from our sensory perception, right? We see people. You know, at some point in time, somebody slipped in a puddle. 5 people saw it and thought it was funny. Right? That's like rudimentary comedy, right?
Right.
You know, or somebody said, broke his heart. And that story is tragic. I wonder how many other people would feel this tragedy, understand the tragedy there. You understand what I'm saying? And how many people would be affected by that? Let me write it down and have some people act it out.
Yeah.
You know, and make murder into something that is suspenseful. You know, 10 people get killed by some serial killer in Leeds or what have you. And somebody's like, this is horrible. But if I wrote it into a story and had people act it out and, you know, people would be entertained by that. And now we have a genre, you know? So it's like, I wonder though, our imagination wasn't limited to what we perceive for people. Like, so I remember when I was a teenager, I wrote a story about a guy who spent his entire life in a coma, but was aware of things, right? Like, he could subconsciously, like he consciously heard things. You know, he heard nurses and people talking, you know what I mean? Really have an understanding of it on a conscious level, but it affected him subconsciously. But it was just a short story I wrote in high school. And when he came out of the coma, like, what do you mean I can't fly? I've been flying my whole life. What do you mean I can't fly? What do you mean people can't fly? You understand what I'm saying? Like, this was his mentality when he, you know, comes out of the coma as an adult.
Yeah.
In his head, it's like, what? You don't fly?
Right.
I've been flying my whole life. You understand what I'm saying? Put me back in the coma where I'm not limited by this body.
Okay.
Like, why did you wake me up? In my when I was the life that I live up to this moment, I was super strong. I can only lift this much. I can't walk because I've never, I haven't used my legs in 20 some odd years. In his mind, all of these things that made us human were limitations. I have to use my eyes to see. Can't see around me all at once. I gotta use my mouth to talk to you. Man, I'm hindered by that. I never had to use my mouth to talk to anyone else that I communicated with up until the day I woke up. And all of a sudden my life is a lot better for me. Supposedly, according to the, conventional rules of things and living on Earth.
Yeah.
This is just a short story that I wrote. It was just something that I thought about. Like, okay, what if this guy just wakes up?
That sounds like a
cool
cool
story. Not a better place for him.
That sounds like a cool
it was
story.
Just something when I was 17.
So what happens at the end?
So he tries to recreate or create an event by which he goes back into a coma.
Okay.
He ends up killing himself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that event ends up killing him. But yeah, he was never gonna, and this was a character who was never gonna acclimate to this world because this world limited him.
Did he have any family?
Yeah, he did. He didn't know them though.
But did they come to see him?
They came to visit. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
but he didn't feel any attachment to them.
He didn't have the same attachment that you or I would. I don't know you. My family, like I don't even recognize humanity.
Okay.
My family are the greatest concepts that I can conceive in my brain while I was in this state. And the things that I conceived in my brain in this state were far beyond because I wasn't limited by the conventions of Earth, of this world. Like my mind did not have to be subject to everything that you're subject because you're awake and you're walking around and you perceive things.
Wait, when he was in a coma, did he have a family there?
Had an entire reality that was all his own. So like, and I don't get into the description of it, but I'll tell you this. Those that he considered family when he was in the coma, they did not look like you or I.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't look like people. In his reality, you don't have to use your mouth to speak.
Right. Right.
You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to be, he wasn't limited to using his eyes to see.
Okay.
When he woke up, that was like a limitation to him. It's like, I actually have to turn and look at this in order to see it.
Right. Okay.
I've never been so restricted. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
What do you mean? I have to actually learn how to walk in order to be mobile.
So everything looked totally different, including the quote unquote human form or whatever.
It was a horrible and depressive reality for him.
Right.
Because his reality had no limitation. He didn't even know that he had limitation.
Yeah.
No one ever said to him, limited by this. Right. So his mind, no idea that he was limited by anything. The world, there were no limitations. And there were other beings in his world. And you couldn't tell them that there weren't because they're just in his world, there were other beings.
Right.
His mind, and that was the whole point of the story. When he was awakened into the real world and limited in every way possible, according to his understanding, and he was miserable. And misery isn't the word. There probably isn't a word to describe.
That sounds like some Twilight Zone type-ish.
It's like you just imprisoned me in humanity.
Yeah.
Literally just took me away from freedom and imprisoned me in humanity. Now confined to this body. And it's a prison. And it's just, those are some of the things that I contemplate. Like, I used to call it, me and Kelsey used to call it extramental. And there is now a definition for extramental, but our definition at the time, those things, your ability to even comprehend. What I mean is, I'll give you an example just so you understand what I mean by extramental or outside of your ability to comprehend. Because it's an oxymoron, right? Only you try to comprehend it, then it's no longer extramental. Mm. So I would say, Kelsey, if you try to think of another existence, right? That other type of existence, you have to eliminate everything that you know that exists in order to even begin to try to fathom another existence. You have to remove all of your understanding, apply anything that you understand in this existence to that existence. Be the beginning trying to imagine another type of existence, right? Mm-hmm. Like a totally different reality or existence. The beginning of that imagination would start with you removing everything you know about this existence. Really hard to do. And as we were trying to do it, that's when we came up with the word extramental. It's beyond your mental ability to really fathom, right? Yeah. Thus, it's extramental. It doesn't mean that it's something that can't be. It just means it's hard to do. Like, for instance, here's an exercise. Something that's very difficult to do, at least I found very difficult to do, it may be very easy for you. We have 26 letters in our alphabet, right? Mm-hmm. All represent different sounds, right? Mm-hmm. Try to create a 27th letter devoid of any of the sounds. 6 letters.
Devoid of any of the sounds.
See what I'm saying?
Devoid of any of the sounds of the other 26 letters?
26 letters. Mm-hmm. Like, try to create another letter. Don't do it, don't actually do it.
Right.
But I mean, that's, if you contemplate on it, just in thinking about it, it's very difficult, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that you're just going to be like, you know what I mean? It's really difficult to really, and that's how you have to think if you try to think of another existence. It's got to be devoid of everything that you know about this existence. It's a totally new and unknown existence. That doesn't mean it doesn't have some of the things in this existence. But how can you know? Right. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. If we're speaking, now we're just hypothesizing. If it has something from this existence in that existence, then is it effectively outside of this existence? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is it really outside of this existence? It shares one trait with this existence and nothing else. Does it make it within this existence, within this reality? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to say reality, because reality is smaller than existence, right? If you when people talk about parallel realities, there are things that are different, but they kind of mirror each other in a lot of ways.
Right.
But when you talk about existence, I'm assuming that you're talking about something that existence. I'm assuming you're talking about something that we can't fathom rules of this existence. Hence, our alphabet give us 26 letters. It's hard to fathom letter 27 without applying the rules of the other 26, one of the other 26, right? Mm-hmm. You can do it. You can use some of the sounds from the other 26 letters. It becomes easier to do, right?
Yeah.
Letter 27. If it has, E and C have E sounds, right? Mm-hmm. You come up with the letter 3 or re, you know what I mean? Yeah, you can do it because you'd added some E sounds in there.
Right.
And you do it without adding any of the other 26.
Maybe.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying it's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's not something you could do in the next 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to put in some work and probably some real linguistic study, right?
Right.
Really go in on that. Just to come up with letter 27, you'd have to go in. You know what I mean? Like that could probably be like a doctoral thesis. Letter 27. You know what I'm saying? Like you could probably write a book on how you conceive letter 27. Or at least a thesis.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which, you know, and so I come up with this term, Kelsey and I, and there is a definition for it, which isn't the definition we gave to it, but we called it extramental. And it was because at that point we realized we were engaging in a conversation that we didn't have the capacity to apply a real understanding to.
Right.
It was beyond our mental. You understand what I'm saying? Like we just didn't have the capacity. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, how do you create a world where all of the rules completely different from the rules of this world? Well, we can't have space travel because that would mean we would be creating under the conventions of their science fiction, any science fiction work that already shows us how it's done. At the very least, an engine, right? Like all of these things we know to be true in this existence. There are engines. You understand what I'm saying? You can create a spaceship and fly to the moon. Okay, so we got to eliminate that. So then, well, wait a minute. Now we're like, wait a minute. Space even exists in this. You know, it kind of gets. You talk about things like time travel and time loops, and you get these paradoxes where it's like, well, you know what I'm saying? If you really, it's that mirror across from a mirror and looking into oblivion. That concept where you take a mirror and you stand in front of a mirror and hold a mirror and you just see yourself reflected almost infinitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That concept, you know what I'm saying? Where you just see just infinite, which some people say you're looking into other realities. Like at the end, see all the way to the end, you're seeing into another reality. These are like stupid little theories. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Oh, you can look into another reality. You can look into infinity. You take a mirror and you hold it up next to a mirror because you're just going to see your reflection over and 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 over again. Who knows how many times, right? Because it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows how many times. But anyway, man, I'm not going to, now I'm just talking. You know what I'm saying? I'm just talking. And I think we covered what we needed to cover.
Yeah, that was good. This
and
time. What's that?
You got me sitting here wanting to get out of my basement.
Word. Well, this time we got it on tape. We got it covered. Hopefully.
The problem is, I'm going to tell you a story real quick. So when I was a kid, right, we were pretty poor. We had one television with cable. It was in my bedroom. When I was very young, my sister and I shared the same room. My mom put the TV in there because, we were the kids. But whenever my mother wanted to watch something, she would come in our room and watch it. Every movie, she was going to watch it. Me, the scary little kid that I was, I'm not down for scary movies.
Right.
So I'd lay in my bed with my head under my blanket, so I don't have to watch the movie.
Right.
I didn't realize how creative and imaginative I was. I'm a creative writer. I wasn't thinking to myself, I'm just so creative and I'm imaginative. The worst thing that I could do was not watch the movie. I was better off watching the movie and laying there with my head under my blanket.
Right.
My mind would create the worst possible scenarios and situations based upon what I heard on the screen.
Right.
I created in my head was always scarier than what was being portrayed on the screen. And I'm just telling you, that's the feeling you've left me with tonight. And you make me want to get out of my basement.
Oh, what I was talking about?
I'm just letting you know.
Oh, what I was
Yeah, I'm just
talking
letting
about,
you
right?
know.
I mean, you're gonna laugh tomorrow when
I'm
I
just
tell you.
letting you know.
You'll laugh tomorrow when I tell you what it was.
Okay. I'm glad that alleviates it. You know what I mean? That takes off some of the bite. Because in my head, I'm like, yo, how long do I want to be in my basement? I don't got my shotty next to me. Like, yo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I'm feeling. I pulled the shotty out in a long time. And, you know, to clean it and put it away. I'm not that dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm sitting here like, huh? Maybe. You know what I mean? I definitely want to get out the basement. And I'm not even a scary dude. It's just my imagination creates things, take it to the next level. I'm a good storyteller, bro.
Definitely.
I mean, so I once wrote a horror story for my wife. I scared myself so bad. I'm like, I can't finish this. My wife loves horror.
Okay.
Loves it. So she asked me to write a horror story so she could read it. Because I always criticize. My wife loves horror. When I say she loves horror, like, it doesn't scare her. And when I say that, I don't think that's a big deal. Like, I've always been a fan of vampires. I'm not afraid of vampires. No matter how scary it's meant to be, it doesn't come. I'm not a fan of horror movies. I'm not afraid of vampire movies, no matter how scary they're meant to be, because I love vampires, so I don't even see it as horror.
Right.
That's how my wife is with horror movies. This is the genre. So to her, it's not horror. It's genuine entertainment. She'll sit in the dark all by herself, empty house, watching the scariest thing imaginable. And she's like, oh, that was corny. And she really means it. Like, she's not being like, cool. You know what I mean? She means it. Like, oh, if a movie is genuinely scary, that's a good scary movie.
Yeah.
You understand? When she was like, yeah, that was scary, then that means it's a good scary movie. Now, I say this to say, while I'm not a fan of horror, I could tell you that I think most horror is poor. I mean, there's a very thin line, and this is something they say in the industry. I know when I took introduction to film, this was something that they said. There's a very thin line between horror and comedy. Not done right, it becomes spoof, which is why so many horror films are horror spoof.
Right.
Because if you make wrong mistakes, directorial and in filming, it literally can go from horror to spoof.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? This is a very thin line. People don't really understand how closely associated horror and comedy is. Very close when it comes to film. Very close. You know, many of the great horror films, you look at American Werewolf in London, that's considered horror spoof.
Right.
Because there's a comedic role in that film. And he's comedy relief the entire movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wrote the story for her. Put it under the pretense. I always told her, I'm like, I don't think horror movies are done well. I just don't think they're done well. I think you lose the moment you show the person the monster.
Definitely.
The moment they see the monster, they become desensitized. No longer as scary as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I always felt. Like, the horror movie loses when they show you the monster. Once they show you the monster, the trick is out of the bag. Oh, the rabbit's out of the hat.
Yeah.
So she was like, well, what would you do? You write a story. So I started writing a story called The Becoming. And this is 2016. I started writing the story because she, challenged me. And I'm writing the story and I'm passing chapters on to her. And, she's into it. And I wrote a scene. I'm not even going to tell you the scene. I wrote a scene. And when I wrote that scene, I can't write this anymore. Like, I was terrified. I was afraid. I know the places I'll go to scare myself, right? As a writer.
Yeah.
And when I went to this one specific place, I started writing. I'm like, what would scare me? What would legit scare me? It can't just be a monster. Once I see the monster, I start to become desensitized. What would legit scare me? And I based the story. I created something totally different that doesn't exist. And just the idea of these things that I created scare me now as we're talking. Like the things that I created, they scare me now. And then the activities of the people that were influenced by this thing. It was the scariest thing I've ever written. It's probably the scariest thing I've ever read. And I'm not even tooting my own horn as a great writer. My wife was like, ish, be good. Like, she's like, I kind of get chills reading it. You know what I mean? I thought it was something that if I was passionate about, could have been successful. I don't write horror. You understand what I'm saying? But I thought this was something that really passionate about it. This would be successful because my wife is standing here in chills. I'm having nightmares. So I just stopped. I'm like, I can't write this. I don't even want to take my spirit to that place where I'm at when I'm writing this. Because I wrote this one scene. And I thought of what's the scariest thing that I could ever imagine. And not the scariest thing, but what's a very scary thing that I could imagine happening. You know, and I wrote the scene where the kid woke up. And his mother was looking at him. But the kid was in his bed. Wakes up and he turns over and his mom's looking at him. And she's just looking at him, like staring and blinking. But she was outside, his room door was open, and she was outside in the hallway. And it wasn't just that she was looking at him, it was that she was upside down. Saw was her head hanging down from the doorway. And he just like wakes up and turns, and she's like, doors open, and she's looking at him in the room, just blinking, and all he sees is her head. Clearly her body's up on the ceiling. And her head is just hanging down doorway upside down, and she's just like staring at him, blinking. I wrote that. I'm like, man, I can't write this no more. I'm done. Like, I can't do this no more. You know what I mean? My wife was like, yo, Ish, what the F? Like, she didn't see it coming, and she was like, yo, it gave her chills. You know what I mean? Because she was like, you know, it was more her, and she wanted to know what was going on, why that was the case. She was like, Ish, if I don't know what I would do if I woke up as a teenager and my mom was, you know, around and my mom's looking at me from that position that way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how I would react. And I'm like, that's what compelled me to write that scene, because how do you react? Do you immediately get up and throw something as hard as you can at that person's face? Do you like, what does your mind do when you know what I'm saying? When you recognize this is clearly not possible.
Right.
Something is very wrong here. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that. And there's a reason behind it, but I couldn't even write these entities any longer. Like, I created these entities that were worse than like demons. Like, worse. It was worse. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what? I can't do this no more. I remember I wrote it. I opened it up. You know, it was in a community, like a condominium community. But I started the story by saying that this community was built in bad space. Space had always been bad. I use simple words like that. I don't want to say this was an evil location. Right. That's just too horror story-ish, right?
Sure.
But
sure.
The simple words, it was just built in bad space.
Yeah.
It's a bad space.
Yeah.
And it was always historically just a bad space. Build the story from there. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. I start telling you, you know, some of the history of this place, but you know, I wanted simple to me is more effective, right? There was a movie that came out. I'm going to let you go. There was a movie that came out some years ago, and I can't remember the name, but you would know the name if I said it. And it's considered horror spoof. But the reason why it scared me, I can't remember what it was called. They used like a Ouija board, and they called up this like demon that is in folklore known to be like a trickster demon. It's very comedic. A trickster demon, but it always comes to kill the people that called it up.
Okay.
It came out in the 2000s. It was like a horror spoof movie. And the movie scared me. It was effective because this thing it was coming for all the people that participated in the ceremony that called it up, right? And it was just coming for them one by one. And when it came for the one girl who was the star of the movie, it came in broad daylight at high noon. Like, this is it shattered all horror movie convention. Like, they had her in the brightest house, sun shining, happy music playing, you know what I'm saying? People out, the whole nine.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, you just see the shadow of these goat hooves through her backyard. You know what I'm saying? Like you just see the shadow of the hooves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you see like the shadow of the horns on his head, you know, passing under her kitchen window. And I'm like, yo, that was an effective scene. Because nobody expects. The horror movie tropes are, you know, it's got to be dark. I'm saying it's got to be nighttime. It's got to be, you know what I mean? The house has to be dark. And, you know, there's all these dark corners and areas of the house and you can barely see stuff. So they get you with the gotcha scare. You know what I'm saying? Like something jumps out of the dark or what have you. You never expect, you always feel safe. Like in broad daylight, right? At high noon. Like you don't think the monster's coming for you at, you know, especially based upon how movies portray it. You just don't expect the monster to come get you at like, you know, 12:59 p.m. while you're making lunch, you know what I mean? In the bright, like this house was the brightest. It was like Donna Reed's house. I mean, it was all pastel colors and white picket fence and, you know, flowers in the yard and, you know what I'm saying? And next thing you know, the shadow of the goat hooves. They don't even show the monster because they were smart.
Yeah.
The shadow of these goat hooves walking across the grass. You know what I mean? They show the horns under the kitchen window. When it comes in the house, you just see the depression of the hooves on the carpeted stairs. You know what I'm saying? Like as it's clearly making its way up the stairs. You know what I mean? So it was done perfectly. Even though it's a spoof, it was a horror spoof. You know what I mean? There were some comedic aspects to it. That scene was like, to me, like, whoa. Wait a minute, man. This is how you should do it. You should shatter people's conventions of what horror is. When they're most comfortable, you know, you want to make people afraid in the times when they feel they should feel safe. That's when you want to do it. Like you want to take away things that people know to be true about films. Like this is a safe zone. It's daylight. I'm safe. You understand what I'm saying? There are a whole bunch of people around. I'm safe. There's not coming. This is what the audience. These are the comforts that the audience rely on. When they can go to the bathroom. Safe, the bathroom. You understand what I'm saying? I rely on the comfort of daylight or the comfort of people in this film to know, okay, this isn't a time where I have to be afraid. I got to be afraid when that crazy music plays and it's 3:00 in the morning and she gets up out of bed to go get a glass of water. Now I should, you know what I mean? That's what movies do. Oh, she's going to get the water. That long dark hallway in that big house. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get ready to be afraid. You know, movies usually set you up for it, and those are my gripes about it. Like they set you up for the fear moments. I don't want you to be prepared for the fear moment. I just want you to be like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to be afraid. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid. That's what you did to me earlier, by the way.
I tried to talk you out of it. I tried to tell you it was more a me thing than, you know, a thing to be afraid of. So
listen, I'm growing more. Huh?
Yo, so check it. I'll probably have a 9:30 thing tomorrow. If you want to join forces, it could be fun. It's my people from Buffalo I was telling you about. If we still end up doing 9:30 tomorrow. Yeah.
9:30.
Yeah.
9:30 a.m.
No, p.m.
9:30 in the morning.
No, p.m. I'm not doing anything that early. I'm doing anything that early because I'm going to be working all day.
So what is it? What are we talking here?
Oh, I mean, I'm saying we usually just get together and just like, you know, we just chat. But I mean, if we, you know, we could just like join forces and have a chat that we video, you know, that we videotape. Could like introduce these guys to the show or something. If you're around at 9:30 p.m. tomorrow.
Get more. I'm down. We got to get more on the ball with opening our show.
Okay.
Names, Ish, Blade. We just got to start. We got to start doing that. Like that's something, and that's not. You know, this is something we have to do.
So let's try to like meet like half an hour before I was going to meet with these guys then. Let's try to.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Try to meet at 9 so we could try to see how we're gonna introduce it.
Okay, I'll be ready. I called you several times earlier today. I figured you were busier at work just to let you know that I was anxious and going to be ready to do some stuff tonight. So I'll definitely be ready.
All right, cool.
I'll for sure be ready.
All right, cool, man. All right.
So I'll holler at you then.
Okay. All right. Talk to you then.
I'll get out.
All right. Peace.
Yep.